Jerry's Mafia Mishap. Chapter 1. The joke's on Jerry. The dim lights of the Laugh Lounge Comedy Club shine on Jerry as he paces the stage, mic in hand. He exudes confidence as he delves into his set. You ever notice how in every Mafia movie, they're always eating? Meetings in restaurants, threats over cannoli, and every hitman seems to know his way around a kitchen. Makes you wonder, did they join the mob or culinary school? The crowd erupts in laughter. Glasses clink and applause fills the air. As Jerry scans the crowd, soaking in the adoration, he spots one man who isn't laughing. A severe-looking individual, immaculately dressed, with slicked back hair and a piercing gaze. Jerry, I'm missing a beat. Continues. I mean, if Tony Soprano and Gordon Ramsay had a showdown, I'd pay to watch that. Hey, T, the risotto's undercooked. The room's energy is palpable as Jerry wraps up his set. As he steps off the stage, the club owner, Frankie, motions him over. Great set, Jerry, but there's something you should know. Jerry, I swear, did I go over my time? Was the risotto joke too much? Frankie responds. You see that guy over there? He subtly nods towards the grim-looking man. That's one of Don Ricci's guys. Rumor has it he's connected, if you catch my drift. Jerry's eyes widen a fraction. But his characteristic sarcasm remains intact. What? So, he's a human rudder. Good Wi-Fi. Frankie warns Jerry. I'm talking Mafia. The real deal. Jerry can't believe it. Come on, Frankie. It's just a joke. It's not like I said his mum's lasagna wasn't up to snuff. Frankie continues. Look, just be careful, all right? Word travels fast in this city. Jerry waves Frankie off with a smirk. Thanks for the tip. I've got another set at another club. Can't keep my fans waiting. Exiting the club, Jerry can't shake off an uneasy feeling. But his pride from a successful set trumps his worries. It's New York, he thinks. Everyone's got a story, and every story needs a little humor. Unbeknownst to him, his latest joke might just spiral into a story of its own. Chapter 2. A warning delivered. Jerry's apartment. Day. The buzzer sounds. Jerry answering hello? Kramer. Panicky Jerry. It's me. I forgot my keys. I need to come up. Jerry says, all right, come on up. Kramer bursts through the door in his usual dramatic fashion, looking around as if expecting someone to be lurking in the corners. Kramer, what's gotten into you? You look like you've just seen a ghost. Kramer answers, worse. Life's worse. I've heard things. Things about that joke you made. It's making the rounds. Jerry is confused. Which joke? I have a lot of material, Kramer. Kramer points at him emphatically. The Mafia one, Jerry. You know, about culinary school. Jerry rolls his eyes. Oh, that? Frankie mentioned something, but it's just a joke. Kramer leans in. You know, my friend Bob Sacamano, his cousin once made a joke about the mob's fascination with fish. Next thing you know, he was sleeping with the fishes. In an aquarium store. Jerry waves him off. So what? Are you telling me I should be watching my kneecaps because of a joke? Kramer shrugs. Just saying, Jerry. Laying low wouldn't hurt. The buzzer sounds again. Jerry walks over and answers. Elaine's voice beams over the speaker. Hey, it's me. Jerry hits a button. Cop! Elaine enters, looking slightly disheveled. Hey, you won't believe who I've been dating. Tony! Sounds regular, right? Well, turns out he's got some connections, if you catch my drift. Jerry raises his arms in disbelief. What is this? Mafia Day. Kramer's just warning me about my joke from last night. Elaine nods. About that. Tony mentioned a hit out on some comedian. I thought it was just mob talk, but after your joke last night... Jerry quips sarcastically. Oh, great. Now I've got the Mafia after me because I pointed out their culinary prowess. Kramer is dead serious, however. It's no laughing matter, Jerry. Elaine agrees. Look, I really like Tony, but if you're in trouble, I'll break it off. Jerry opens a water bottle to take a sip. Let's not be hasty. Maybe he can clear this up. You know, clarify that I'm not kneecap breaking material. Elaine frowns. I don't know, Jerry. These people take respect very seriously. Jerry finishes a sip, growing agitated. Well, it's just a joke. I respect their ability to misunderstand humor, Kramer exclaims. I've got an idea. What if we organize a sit? Down. You, like they do in the movies. Jerry doesn't miss a beat. Oh, sure. 'Cause that always ends well. A comedian, a mobster, and a plate of cannoli. Elaine counters. Look, Jerry, all I'm saying is, maybe be a little careful. And maybe no more Mafia jokes for a while. Jerry sighs. Well, I guess I could always go back to airplane food material. Nobody's ever been whack over bad peanuts! Kramer nods in agreement, his face still showing signs of worry, while Elaine looks unconvinced, hoping her relationship isn't about to put her friend in danger. Relax. It's New York. What could possibly go wrong? Jerry shrugs. The irony of Jerry's statement isn't lost on anyone, as the trio try to fathom the depth of the situation they're now hilariously embroiled in. Chapter 3. Newman knows best. Jerry is checking his mailbox. And of course, who would be there but Newman, the mischievous mailman, sifting through the day's post. Newman greets him in his usual tone. Hello, Jerry. Jerry, sighing. Hello, Newman. What's the word in the postal world? Newman says letters, Jerry. Lots and lots of letters. But sometimes whispers. Jerry rolls his eyes. You hear voices? Newman, I've always suspected. Newman shakes his head. Not just any voices, Jerry. The voices of the streets. The very pulse of New York City. Jerry makes a face. I didn't realize sorting mail was so atmospheric. Newman responds. Oh, it is, Jerry. And guess whose name is floating in that atmosphere right now? Yours. In connection with, shall we say, unsavory types. Jerry Isks! Let me guess. This is something to do with the Mafia. Newman nods, smiling. Ding, ding, ding. The comedian is sharp. Yes, the mailroom, Jerry. It's the gossip hub of the city. Everyone's secrets pass through our hands, sealed in envelopes. Jerry says, and I'm sure old mailmen are as trustworthy as you. Newman continues, not slowing down. In fact, it's because I care for my fellow man that I've decided to help. I've decided to help. I have a cousin, Leo. He's a lawyer. Well, mostly traffic tickets, but he knows people. Jerry makes another face, cringing. Knows people. What does he do? Get the mob out of parking fines. Newman nods. You'd be surprised what connections one makes in traffic court. Jerry holds up his hand. I'm good, Newman. But thanks for the offer. Newman! Leaning in, whispering. Think about it, Jerry. My cousin can mediate. After all, who better to trust than a Newman? Jerry backs up. Oh, this is endless. Just then, Kramer slides into the scene, looking unusually agitated. Jerry, we've got to do something about this Mafia situation. We can't rely on him. Newman, feigning hurt. Why, Kramer? I'm hurt. We're practically brothers, you and I. Kramer turns to Jerry. Jerry, the last time Newman tried to help someone, he ended up delivering all their mail to the North Pole. Thought he was helping Santa. Newman protests. It was one misdirected bag. Jerry sighs. I'll consider your offer, Newman. But right now, I have other problems. Newman, looking smug. Just remember, Jerry, the mail never stops. And neither do the whispers. Jerry nods. Only your whispering stops, Newman. When I close the door, Kramer, still agitated, pulls Jerry aside. Jerry, we can't trust Newman. This is the Mafia we're talking about. They've got codes and handshakes and pasta. Jerry lowers his voice. I know, Kramer. Let's just keep our ears to the ground and our kneecaps, well, intact. Kramer nods in agreement, the two aware that their typical New York City life has taken a surreal twist. Chapter 4. Kramer's connection. Jerry's apartment. Daytime. Kramer bursts through the door with his usual fervor. Jerry, I got the solution. Jerry, sipping coffee. Does it involve bubble wrap and shoelaces? Kramer, not this time. Remember Frankie? Two Toes? Jerry asks. The mobster who became a shoe salesman? Kramer, that's the one. I set up a meet. Jerry, sarcastically. Oh, a meet! What are we in a Scorsese flick? Kramer shakes his head. Jerry, this is serious. Frankie owes me one. Remember the moose shoes? Jerry responds. The ones that squeaked and sounded like a moose call. Kramer pointed him bingo. There's a buzzing noise. It's George on the intercom. Let me up. I think my car just died. Jerry, buzzing him in. Comedy and tragedy. My life in a nutshell. George enters, a mix of frustration and exhaustion on his face. George exclaims, "That car. It's like a pet that keeps getting sick. And cars don't even need to be walked," Jerry offers. "But they do drink a lot. Gas, that is." Kramer points at George. "You know, I might have a solution for your car troubles, too." George shakes his head. "Oh, is it Frankie? Two Toes?" Kramer says no. "It's Vinny, Four Wheels." Jerry mockingly. "Oh, of course. How could I forget Vinny? Four Wheels." The trio head to a dimly lit bar where Frankie Two Toes, a middle-aged man with a distinct limp, sits in a booth. Frankie shakes Kramer's hand. "Kramer, long time." Kramer slaps him on the back. "Frankie, my man, how's the shoe business?" Frankie replies, Good. Good. A lot quieter than my previous gig. Less shootings. More shoe things." He chuckles. Jerry, laughing nervously. "That's a good one." Frankie turns to Jerry. "I heard about your little mishap." Jerry pleads. "It was just a joke." Everyone laughed. Frankie tilts his head. "Not everyone. Look, Kramer's a good friend. So here's my advice. Stay away from Don Ritchie. He might have a short fuse, but he's got a long memory." Jerry continues protesting, "But I didn't mean any harm." Frankie pops a stick of gum in his mouth. "Doesn't matter. In this world, perception is reality." Kramer suddenly remembers George. "Frankie, can you help George with his car?" Frankie shakes his head. Cars aren't my thing. But Vinny, Four Wheels owes me a favor. I'll put in a word." Jerry and Kramer exit the store. Kramer runs his hand through his hair. From comedy to mafia to car repair. "A day!" Jerry quips. "Welcome to my world." Kramer looks back at the story, you see, Jerry. Every shoe has a soul. Jerry smiles. And every comedian has a soul, right? Kramer shakes his head. "No, I was just talking about shoes." Jerry cries, "I can't believe this! I make one joke, and now I'm wrapped up in a Mafia sitcom!" Kramer shrugged. "Well, you always wanted a more interesting life, buddy." Suddenly, they bump into a familiar face. Uncle Leo exclaims. "Jerry, hello!" Jerry nods in greeting. "Uncle Leo, what are you doing here?" "Uncle Leo, I just bought these new Italian loafers. Gift from Jeffrey, all right?" "Jerry!" "Of course, of Uncle Leo. How could I forget?" "Kramer." Jeffrey, always thinking of others." "Uncle Leo." "That's right, Kramer. Now what are you doing here?" Jerry says. "It's a long story." Uncle Leo eyes him skeptically. "Oh, see, you just never have time for your family, Jerry." What is it with you?" Uncle Leo waves him off as he continues into the story. "No, Leo, that's not it." Kramer. Eyes, Leo wide-eyed. "Hey, Jerry, maybe he's involved in this." Jerry and Kramer exchange a glance. Jerry, annoyed. "Really, you think my Uncle Leo's involved?" Kramer responds, "No, Jerry. But in this city, everyone's connected. And not just by the subway." "Jerry, yeah, thanks for all the help, Kramer. I don't know what I'd do without you." Chapter 5. Elaine's beau revealed. Elaine's apartment. She's getting ready for a date. The doorbell rings and she opens the door to a well-dressed, suave man, Tony. Elaine exclaims, "Tony, you're early, and you smell like money!" "Tony," chuckles. "That's a new cologne. The Ricci." Elaine jokingly, "Is that a Mafia exclusive fragrance?" Tony, pausing funny, you should say that. Elaine's face drops. Elaine manages. You're not actually. Tony interjects. Don Ritchie's nephew. But hey, don't stereotype. I'm in legitimate businesses." "Elaine!" Relieved. "Oh, good. So no horse heads in beds." "Tony!" "Nah, that's old school. Now we just cancel your credit cards." They both laugh. Cut to an upscale Italian restaurant. Tony and Elaine sit at a private table, joined by Don Ritchie. They're midway through dinner. Don Ritchie. "So, Elaine, how did you and Tony meet?
Elaine. Oh, at the grocery store. He helped me reach the top shelf pasta.
Don Ritchie.
Always looking out for others. That's my Tony.
Tony, what can I say? I'm a gentleman. Elaine spots Jerry's joke as an opening. Elaine, speaking of pasta, have you heard the one about the Mafia and spaghetti?
Don Ritchie narrows his eyes.
Elaine, nervously or not?
Don Ritchie barks. Is this about that comedian, Jerry?
Elaine gulping. You've heard of him. Tony chimes in. Uncle, she's friends with him, but he's a good guy. Don Ritchie remains skeptical.
We'll see about that. Back at Jerry's apartment, the intercom buzzes.
Jerry asks, who is it? George responds, it's George and Vinny, 4 wheels.
Jerry buzzes him in. A scrappy mechanic enters with George, leaving greasy handprints everywhere.
Jerry grimaces. Not the couch.
George pleads Vinny. Can you fix my car or not?
Vinny nods. It's gonna cost you. And I need it in small bills. Jerry shakes his head. For what?
Discreet pizza delivery.
George whispers to Jerry.
He's helping me out, will you?
Jerry whispers back.
Why did you bring him here for the negotiation? He's ruining all my furniture.
George shrugs. Well, I didn't want him at my place.
Jerry gives him an icy look. Back at the restaurant, Elaine is trying to defuse the situation.
Elaine sweetens her voice. Don Ritchie. Jerry's joke was just a joke. He didn't mean any harm.
Don Ritchie remains unfazed in our world. Words have consequences.
Elaine smiles. Well, they're just words, right, Tony? Tony sighs.
Maybe we could find a way to work things out. Don Ritchie ponders for a moment.
Don Ritchie rubs his chin.
Maybe.
Guess I can think of something.
Elaine sighs in relief. Her mission at least partially accomplished.
Chapter 6. Jerry's close call.
Jerry is at a local grocery store, inspecting cantaloupes. He raises one close to his ear, gives it a shake, and seems disappointed.
Jerry says to himself, why do we always believe fruit has something to say if we shake it?
As he's contemplating the mysteries of fruit communication, a man wearing sunglasses indoors approaches. The man grumbles.
You SEINFELD?
Jerry, jokingly depends. Are you from the Fruit Listeners Association?
The man digs a finger into Jerry's chest.
You should watch your back and your jokes. Jerry, a little unnerved, quickly pays for his groceries and exits. He pulls out his cell and dials George. George, I think I'm in over my head. I got warned. In a grocery store! Over cantaloupes!
George, frustrated. Not now. Jerry, my car won't start. And get this, it's because of the car's computer system. Since when do cars have computer problems?
Jerry replies, George, I might have a hit on me, and you're worried about your car's software updates.
George still doesn't get it, Jerry. They're calling it the blue screen of death.
It's serious.
Jerry continues. Not as serious as my actual potential death.
George hears a car honking in the background. All right. Come over. Jerry rushes to George's apartment. On arrival, he finds George, hood up, surrounded by various tools. Jerry observes you going for a new look, George.
George responds, I thought maybe if I showed it I was technically inclined, it'd be intimidated into working again.
Jerry? Sarcastically. Yeah, because cars are known to respond to psychological warfare. George shakes his head. You laugh, but I once scared a blender into working.
Jerry sighs. All right, let's focus. I think I'm gonna need to go into hiding.
George muses. How about the Catskills? We can use my car, if it starts. Jerry's skeptical. I think I'd rather take my chances with the mob.
George continues. I have a cousin up there. She used to work in costume design. We can get you a disguise.
Jerry points at George. I'm not going to a drag show, George.
George laughs.
No, it's legit. She used to do costumes for off-Broadway shows. You'll blend right in. Jerry sits down. Blend in where? The set of cats? George finally gets the car to start. George smiles in triumph. There, see, intimidation.
Jerry looks genuinely surprised. Let's just get to the Catskills. And if anyone asks, I'm an aspiring fruit whisperer. Chapter 7. The Intervention.
Elaine, in a dimly lit corner of the Italian restaurant, fumbles with a payphone, inserting a coin and dialing Jerry's number. The phone rings a couple of times before Jerry picks up. Jerry! Hello? Elaine. Jerry, it's me. You won't believe this, but I'm in the middle of dinner with Tony. And Don Ritchie! Jerry, what? Elaine, why didn't you tell me?
Elaine, there wasn't time.
Look, I talked to him. He's agreed to meet you if you apologize.
Jerry, well, that's a start, I guess. Elaine, but you need to come now.
Like, immediately.
Jerry.
All right, I'm on my way. As Jerry hangs up, George, who's overheard the conversation, starts pacing anxiously. George, are you nuts? You're gonna go and apologize. What if it's a trap? Jerry, Elaine's there. And if apologizing saves my neck, then I'll apologize.
George.
What happened to the Catskills escape plan? A nice mountain retreat sounds good right about now.
Jerry. George. We live in New York City.
Not a Godfather movie.
I'm sure if I go and talk to him, it'll all be fine. George screams. Fine. Fine. Jerry, these are mobsters. They aren't known for their understanding and forgiving natures. Jerry.
Well, running to the Catskills isn't going to help either, especially in your car.
George sighs in exasperation.
Why does everything circle back to my car?
Jerry, come on, let's go.
Inside the restaurant, the mood is tense. Tony nervously taps his foot while looking around for Elaine and the gang.
Tony shifts uneasily. Uncle, please remember, these are my friends. And Elaine. She means a lot to me. Don Ritchie smiles. As long as they show respect, everything will be fine.
George's car, with its engine stuttering and coughing, pulls up outside the restaurant. Jerry and George pile out, with George giving the car a disdainful look.
I swear, this car has a personal vendetta against me. Now, of all times, it decides to have an identity crisis. Jerry quips.
Maybe it's nervous. Heard about the Mafia and wanted to play dead.
They walk into the restaurant and join Tony and Don Ritchie. And Elaine. Don Ritchie. Sizing up Jerry. So, you're the comedian.
Jerry nods. I prefer observational humorist, but yes. Elaine trying to break the ice, Don Ritchie. Thank you for meeting us. This is Jerry and George.
George, still exasperated, blurts out, I have a malfunctioning car. Does that define me now?
Don Ritchie.
Chuckling cars. My first car was a 62 Cadillac. A beautiful machine. No computers. Just metal, rubber, and love. Jerry motions his hand at George. See, George, you need to love your car.
George shakes his head. Love? I'd settle for mutual respect.
Jerry decides this is the moment to address the elephant in the room.
Mr. Ritchie, I sincerely apologize if my joke offended you. I make fun of everything and everyone. It's what I do.
Don Ritchie grows serious. You think the Mafia's a joke? Jerry takes a deep breath.
Well, no, not the Mafia specifically. But have you ever noticed how mob movies always have that one guy who's terrible at being incognito? Big hat, trench coat, stands out more than if he wore a clown suit.
A hint of a smile tugs at Don Ritchie's lips.
There's always one, isn't there?
Jerry, sensing an opening, continues exactly.
No disrespect, but mobsters in movies, they're like pigeons in a park. You always notice them, but they try so hard to act like they're just casually there.
Elaine chimes in, and you always end up with one that's a bit bolder than the rest.
Don Ritchie, laughing now, you're not wrong!
George, I wanted to feel left out.
Jumps in. Speaking of bold pigeons, anyone know a good car mechanic? Don Ritchie says I've got a guy. Fixes anything, but you gotta treat your car right. You hear?
George starts nodding enthusiastically.
Yeah, thank you.
Don Ritchie leans towards him, whispering, but remember, this is a favor. You owe me.
George gulps understood. Don Ritchie turns back to Jerry. Now about settling this whole mess. Chapter 8. Comedy show tribute. The event venue was buzzing with anticipation. It was a strange blend of folks. A mishmash of Jerry's regular crowd and a slew of well-dressed Italian gentlemen with their families. The types you'd expect to see at a mob gathering rather than a comedy night. But there they were, waiting for the show. George pulled up outside in his car, engine sputtering and backfiring, with Elaine and Kramer inside. Elaine shook her head in disbelief seriously. George, what's with the car? You'd think after all we've been through, you'd treat yourself to something better. George protested. I did. I got the deluxe engine treatment from the garage Don Ritchie recommended.
Kramer remarked. You know what, buddy? That's a scam. They just put in those little tree air fresheners under the hood. George got excited. I knew it.
Elaine corralled them. Can we focus, please? Tonight's important for Jerry. As they entered, they found Jerry backstage, nervously adjusting his tie. Jerry fidgeting, what am I doing? I tell jokes about cereal and laundry. Now I'm supposed to make mobsters laugh.
Kramer warned. Just remember, Jerry, if they don't laugh, don't look them in the eyes. I read it somewhere.
Elaine! Dismissively. That's for wild animals, Kramer.
Kramer raised a finger. Well,
before they could continue, the announcer's voice boomed. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Jerry SEINFELD! Taking a deep breath, Jerry walked onto the stage to a mixture of polite applause and curious murmuring. Jer started. Good evening, everyone! Ever notice how in New York we have more types of pasta than subway lines? I mean,
is there really a difference between linguine and spaghetti?
And yet, we can't figure out the difference between the express and local train. Round of chuckles.
And speaking of Italian specialties, anyone ever tried to parallel park in Little Italy? It's like playing Tetris, but with Fiats.
Don Ritchie laughed heartily, signaling the rest of the mobsters to join in. The evening continued with a string of jokes, from Italian grandmas to the mysteries of marinara V's. Tomato sauce. Backstage! As the laughs continued, George complained to Elaine.
I can't believe my car didn't start after the show. I had to push it 3 blocks.
Elaine answered. George! Why don't you just get a new car?
George replied. But he's still got the new car smell. Kramer jumped in. That's just the air freshener from the deluxe treatment.
George groaned. As the night wrapped up, Jerry thanked the crowd. Thank you all for being here, especially Mr. Don Ritchie and his family. Tonight's proceeds go to his favorite charity. And remember, no matter how different our worlds, good laugh is universal.
The applause was deafening.
Later, at Monk's Cafe, the gang sat recounting the evening's events.
Elaine mused. Jerry, you did it. You made the Mafia laugh.
Jerry said, I think I prefer hecklers.
George wondered out loud any of them need a car.
New car smell?
Kramer shook his head.
George, let it go.
They laughed, raising their coffee mugs in a toast. Another day, another misadventure, but always together.
Jerry toasted to New York, the city where anything can happen.
George wondered, think anything will get you to move out of the city?
Jerry shook his head, drinking from the cup. Nah.